not gonna lie, this one kind of sucks. Let's just do the intro.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On Coyotes, your number one daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes. I am your host, Robyn and Matt, alongside Matthew Jacobson. We want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day. We're free and available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube and the SiriusXM radio app. We are ending the regular, the 5-day week portion of this week, Matt, in a not as good as we expected, as we would have hoped, because it's there. Yeah, let's put it this way: we have to reset the time without something bad news about the Coyotes coming out counter back to 0. 0
days without a Katie Strang tweet. Right back at it.
It's nonstop. It really.
Every time we feel good too, Robyn. Every time we're happy, things are going good. Look, when you're a Coyotes fan, you gotta just expect it. When something good is happening, it's like being in an abusive relationship. Something bad's around the corner, so just maybe walk away for a little bit. Maybe take a trip. Maybe, I don't know. Go to the bar.
The Coyotes' rivalry of Katie Strang, no matter what, like how you view her reporting, is still brutal. It's just like, Katie Strang will always find something bad to talk about. But the Coyotes, whether or not they're true or not, is beside the point. But this
one's
situation.
True. This one's accurate.
This one's accurate.
She did good reporting on this.
Good reporting on this, and it sucks because, those that don't know, Alex Galchenyuk, it was reported on Thursday morning that the Arizona Coyotes announced that his contract has been terminated or will be terminated. And he was being placed on unconditional waivers for the purpose of contract termination. Contract termination usually doesn't occur, Matthew, unless there is a major violation, a breach of contract, or something that leads to, a for-cause termination of a contract other than buyout. So when we heard that, I think a lot of people were shocked. And then Katie Strang let us know the details, did her reporting, and said that the City of Scottsdale had confirmed that he was arrested earlier last week.
Yeah. And this sucks. I know that I was literally pulling into the Westgate parking lot this morning to go to work. And I have a friend of mine who's also like a podcaster and writer texting me this, people adding me, multiple people messaging me, which that's a nice little ego boost. People want to know my thoughts on it. Appreciate you. Depression, sadness, disappointment. And as of right now, there's been no mention of any illicit substances or alcohol involved in the event. I would imagine with how strict this state is on such matters, if there was anything like that involved, it would have already been in this report, and this would have been the headline. It would have been. So when I was reading the statement, I actually kind of interpreted it, thought about it, and it's like, we have no further comment. It's going to be a terminated contract. My first thought genuinely was, I hope to God it's not a domestic thing. Just we see too much. Mm-hmm. I'll just say degenerate behavior out of athletes, and I thankfully that wasn't it. And I only bring up that context to set this up. What ended up being the case, I am still very disappointed. I don't know if it's because my first reaction was, hopefully it's not a domestic thing, that this seems tame in comparison, because it's still not good. I don't condone this. This is terrible behavior. That whatever's going on in his life, he needs to get it figured out. It's not my business. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist. Whatever it is, dude needs to get it figured out. He's arrested on the 9th for charges including private property, hit and run, disorderly conduct, failure to obey, resisting arrest, and threatening or intimidating. And look, I've seen too much footage of cops saying someone resisted and they weren't, so I'm going to need context on that. But threatening, disorderly conduct, and private property hit and run, that is not okay behavior. And I don't even know what context that could be okay behavior. So while like I'm not outraged, I'm not as angry as I would be if it was again that first issue. This still isn't good.
No.
And people love to say, "Oh, this is an embarrassment of a franchise." This incident is embarrassing. Same thing as a Cardinals fan when Floyd had a DUI, when Steve Keim had a DUI. All right, I was embarrassed because how the hell do you do that? How do you have such poor judgment? And I can't think of a context where any of this would be justifiable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, to me, the term I was going to use is disappointing. Because I think we were pretty excited for him to come back for one more year. It's like, hey, we got, we were like, hey, it's a pretty good pickup for the Coyotes. Like, not I wouldn't say great, but it's a decent pickup for them. Getting him back for yet another stint, his third stint with Arizona, and literally 12 days later, it happens. I don't think we've seen a contract get terminated that fast before. I mean, again, I had to look deep into it, but I don't think that's the case, that we've ever seen anything happen that fast. So it made me wonder too if it was something that, potentially that bad. And again, I'm not saying what he did isn't that bad, but it is disappointing. It's just like you don't even have we don't even really have the other words to really describe how we're feeling right now.
Yeah, because it's just there were no injuries, so it wasn't like a hit and run on like a kid, right, or a dog or something. Like it wasn't
Right.
like he didn't. It's property damage. It can be replaced and fixed, and he should have to pay the fines and make that right. That's your consequences for your actions. He'll probably end up getting the pretrial conference begins on August 11th. He'll probably end up getting a fine and community service or probation because it sounds like it's misdemeanors, not anything too major. But I'm just disappointed. I again, not mad. If it was something worse, like I said earlier, I would be really livid. But I went from being upset to the fact that this was going that something happened. I went from being mad something happened to how do I even react? How am I supposed to think because this is so there's not a context where private property hit and run isn't avoidable. There isn't a context where disorderly conduct is a little broad, yes, but typically disorderly conduct has to do with verbal altercations. Typically it has to do with drunken altercations. Like it's usually stuff that's avoidable and dumb. And and then threatening or intimidating. I'm disappointed. This is a little embarrassing. I am a little embarrassed because I'm a big fan of the guy. I like the guy, and while we never know these people personally, and I'm not saying he's a terrible person for one series of poor decisions, because I hate the term mistakes because people try to use excuses. No, it was a series of poor decisions. Regardless of context, he made bad decisions, and consequences need to happen, and they seem to be happening with the arrest and the contract termination. I'm just disappointed.
I hear you 100%. We're going to continue talking about the Alex Galchenyuk situation, the Arizona Coyotes terminating his contract or placing him on unconditional waivers as of Thursday for the purpose of contract termination. We'll get to more on our thoughts in just a bit, but first, a quick word from our sponsors on the show. And today's episode is brought to you by AG1, the daily foundational nutrition supplement that supports whole body health that I drink literally every day. I gave AG1 a try because I really needed to find a product that could really put everything together in finding the vitamins and nutrition that I need in a single day without having to take a million different pills or other supplements. It became really easy for me because all I had to do was just get a scoop of this AG1, put it in a cup of water every day, replace it for my coffee because it's cheaper that way, and it makes me feel good all around. It helps my mental focus, helps my overall other health, helps my gut health. It is absolutely something that I will recommend to anybody. All great athletes have one thing in common: they take care of their bodies, and a huge part of that starts with optimizing their whole body health. So give AG1 a try. If a comprehensive solution is what you need in your routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/NHL Network. Once again, it's drinkag1.com/NHL Network. Check it out. So let's continue, Matt, as we talk about Alex Galchenyuk and his contract termination. One of the things that I was looking at is I'm trying to figure out what the name of it is, but I really hope that Alex Galchenyuk gets the help that he needs through the services that the NHL and the NHLPA are able to provide. Because I think if that's the case, if there's something something that led to that happening, I don't think there's any other way of really thinking about it. Something led to whatever he did to happen, and I feel like it's not his first time going through that program. I feel like not only does he really get that the extra help he needs, just in general, I feel like I just hope he's okay. I still want the best for him.
Yeah, and just to be blunt, like, people do make mistakes, they make poor decisions. There always should be a path forward, and you have actions and consequences, and then once you have those consequences, that's when you need to start trying to move forward and get whatever help you need or whatever. I am just thankful it wasn't a DUI incident. I am thankful it wasn't someone got hit and hurt or possibly lost their life. I'm just glad it wasn't that. Because it could have. I'm gonna be blunt. I like the guy. I do. There is no excuse for that, and I wouldn't be able to do this show today. I wouldn't be able to talk about this today, and I'll just be honest. If it was something like that, but it's like whatever is going on in Alex's life needs to get solved, because this time, whatever the event was, whatever it was private property and seemingly some degenerate behavior, right? What could it be next time or the time after that or whatever? So it's whatever's going on, it needs to stop. He needs to get help. I do hope that the NHLPA does help him because, again, people make bad decisions. There has to be a path forward. There has to be a path for someone to be able to get help and earn a second chance, earn another chance. And I just hope that it's not too late for Alex. And again, thankfully, nobody was hurt on this one. It wasn't that, but how do we have a show covering this? How do we even begin trying to this ridiculously complex issue of a very likely troubled individual having some sort of incident or episode? How do you even begin to I don't feel qualified. I don't feel qualified to even begin. And it's like let's switch gears over to the contract termination. Let's talk about the implications. I hope everything's okay, Alex. I really do. Genuinely, whatever you need to do, get yourself right, because whatever, your life's more important than whatever the hell's going on. Just straight up.
100%.
But the contract termination. So it's a very drastic thing. It might seem a little more common because Zadina just got his contract terminated. It could be breach of contract. It could be both player and team want a separation. Many things go into it, but it is typically a boiling point. It is typically a unacceptable, action. And with the Coyotes, this isn't done. And as much as I hate this, it also is necessary. The PA might get involved and can file a grievance to make sure that make the contract still valid. And part of me really wants that to happen for Alex's sake, like him to go through the program,
just so he gets taken care of.
Yeah, him to go through the program, get the help, and play this year in Tucson. Like his contract be upheld, and the Coyotes, their perspective, they bury it in the minors, but Alex gets that chance afterwards. I hope that's what happens.
Yeah,
and
I mean, it's my
precedent's sake.
It's my understanding that shortly after the termination was announced, that the NHLPA has already said that they're looking into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like that is the NHLPA's job. No matter first and foremost, from the moment any kind of contract termination happens, it is the moment to look after all other players, no matter what. In any kind of contract termination case, I feel like it's good that they are looking into every termination case. So to see if it's rightfully done, if it was a mutual thing, then sure, okay, we are good. But if it's a breach of contract thing or whatever else it is, whatever other cause, that the reason being that the NHLPA has every right to look into it, and I feel like, for the players' sake, I like that.
Yeah, and also the precedent, because you do not want. Look, this is not football or basketball where only certain dollars or certain years are guaranteed. You sign a contract in the NHL, your contract is guaranteed unless there is some extreme circumstance. And while this might be enough, it might not. I think this is a little more borderline depending on what the details are. The Coyotes probably have that information. They already got a comment from Bill Daly. I do believe Craig Morgan reached out to him, and essentially they were made aware of the situation, and they made themselves available for an advisory role. And the PA is doing their job looking into it to make sure that everything's holding up and up. Because if this is a valid grounds for it, then they should, after doing their due diligence, be like, okay, so that way we kind of keep the status quo or keep that standard. I should say standard's a better word. That standard moving forward, so that way you can't just, hey, this guy said something we didn't like, contract terminated. Hey, this guy got drunk at a party and threw a beer bottle at a wall, not at someone. It's at a brick wall, like he's being an idiot.
Yep. Let's say it in a similar way, and it because I feel like there are two situations, and it comes to drunk players who you can turn to and like, hey, in the future, a team can look at that and be like, oh, that's grounds for termination. And again, the examples I will be given that happened in the past are players that are very prominent, so the chance of that happening with X player, unfortunately, is pretty low because of said prominence of a player. But let's say, for example, a few years ago, I think Austin Matthews, when he was drunk on those freaking scooters going down through Old Town and harassing a woman or whatever, or Matt Duchene. I think Matt Duchene, maybe, I can't remember, in his Uber ride and threatening somebody. Like those, on some players would be easily grounds for termination if there's no precedent.
Yeah, basically that example. I think the Duchene thing was just I think they were just trash talking their coaches or something. But it's making the hard line stance of, hey, this level of action is something that should be punished, fined. Maybe you miss a game or two depending on the severity, but not your entire contract. So that way the threshold for your contract being terminated remains reasonable. So that way you can't just kind of This guy said something dumb at a party, gone. Type thing. Like actually protect the player's contract as well. So I do like the due diligence, and I'm actually wanting to look into it. And again, just for the precedence of it, for the rest of the players, and for Alex himself, because he also maintains his benefits with the PA if that contract is active. I do think you still get like a grace period or whatever if you are still a registered free agent, but I'm not going to pretend that I know all the ins and outs. I'm not gonna pretend, but whatever it takes to make sure he does have the resources, because I don't want this dude throwing away his life at 29 for something dumb.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like no matter what, and I think this is the optimist in me. The optimist in me doesn't come out very often unless I feel like it's absolutely necessary. And a lot of you know that. A lot of you know. Again, I'm not necessarily a pessimist. I'm a cynic. I kind of like look at things in a negative, but also like twisted way. But I still hope that even let's say this termination ends up becoming valid. I still hope that the NHLPA extends their hand to be able to and says, and like, if there is no grace period or whatever, but even just like does the best they can to support him, not only him, but any other player that needs the help. That might be a free agent, might be whatever it is.
Yeah, because let's be blunt. This is bigger than hockey, and again, I'm not talking about a domestic violence incident. I'm not talking about a DUI. There are certain things where there has to be severe consequences. But what I'm talking about, like someone going through a struggle and things are spiraling, but it's not that bad. It's not actively causing harm to others, but it is harming themselves. I want that precedent to be that the PA helps, that we get more people the help they need to help them recover and rehabilitate and whatever they need to keep them productive, not just in the NHL, but like in society. Because if you have, let's just refer to it as the Kuznetsov incident. If you have people struggling with that, I would much rather resources be open and available and guys go into programs to get clean, as opposed to it turning into a bigger thing. And then we're talking about a DUI incident. We're talking about a bar fight. We're talking about, God forbid, someone.
Yeah, no, the NHL and the NHL and NHLPA player assistance program, I feel like really should be used for those people. Yeah, like it really should be used specifically for those players who very well know that they do need that help. That they're, like you mentioned, in that spiraling aspect. And I feel like, and here's a good example of a player, and it's a different kind of spiral, but still mental health. So I still feel like it very is valid, 100% valid. And that's the case of Robyn Leonard when he was still goaltender for the the main goaltender for the Vegas Golden Knights. Like he took a decent amount of time off to go to the player assistance program because he needed help because he was in a really dark place. Carey Price, same thing. Took so much time off because he decided, you know what, I'm going to the player assistance program. I need the help. That's what I love about it. And that's why I really hope that no matter what is going on with Galchenyuk or any other player that has these issues, that goes through that they go through that help.
Yeah, 100%. Because it's better to have a guy miss some time, maybe have some egg on their face from an embarrassing situation, than to have someone lose their life or it get even worse and multiple people. Like it's much better to have the programs open and people be encouraged. Like even I'll bring up Rick DiPietro just for a few seconds. There was some concerning comments he's made before when he was struggling to try to keep his career going. The mental aspect is a lot in the game. I don't think it gets enough attention to where I'm like, I'd rather legit. I'm gonna be just candid right now. I would rather people think less of me and call me a pansy or something, and take a couple weeks off or seek help for this or that if I'm feeling like I need it than like drudge through and start making bad decisions kind of mindset.
Absolutely. Because I feel like, yeah, no matter what, as a professional athlete, there are expectations that you should act. You're one, of course, you're still like it's first and foremost is no matter what, you will still be treated like a human. But also, you have is what a lot of these players have to realize is they're also in a public light, so they are a lot more role models to other people. So people will, they're highly influential. There we go. So I feel like if you humanize them a lot more in that sense, and you see that, hey, these kind of people go through these kind of programs too for help, you can too.
I just want to jump in real quick. Look, kids are going to like hockey. There are going to be younger people that are going to watch us. Don't idolize athletes as people. Idolize them for their skill, their craft, their work ethic, things that you actually can replicate. You need your parents or a teacher or someone personally in your life to be your role model because we are all flawed human beings. It's like this is a perfect example of obviously the players are people, treat them like people, but like I feel like not enough young people actually have that distinction or taught that distinction to be like, yes, I respect his game. I respect his work.
Yeah.
I want to emulate him on the ice without idolizing or idealizing some of these people
As
for the aspect of their life we don't know.
We don't see like, yeah, and like, there's a lot of people let's say people who listen to this show, they don't know much of our personal lives outside of this show, nor do we probably going to share much of it outside of this show. And that's and that's kind of how things go. So like, that kind of is the same thing with athletes. Athletes aren't going to go crazy into their personal lives, but again, you still treat them like human.
Yeah. So just for anyone that's younger, just like use this as a learning example. Don't demonize Alex unless something really big a detail.
Yeah, unless
it's,
like we could be wrong. By the time we're a lot of you guys are listening to this, like we could be very wrong. Something else could have come up that completely could have changed our opinion by the time you listen to this, and you'll know if you follow us on social media. We'll definitely have our thoughts. But at the time of this recording, we're our thoughts are out there. We want him to we support him in trying to get the help he can get.
Yep. So as of this moment, try not to demonize him because as of right now, it doesn't seem like it's that level as of this moment. But also use it as a learning opportunity to be like, we're all flawed. The people you idolize or look up to are flawed. Make sure you're focusing on the right aspects of someone to idolize and make sure you're keeping things more realistic with others. And let's pretend this was Clayton Keller for a second. Don't that's why you shouldn't idealize people too much. Athletes and public figures too much. Just keep everything as realistic as possible and use this as a learning opportunity to be like, hey, if you need help, reach out. If you think you're struggling with something, reach out. And if you think you can't trust someone, find the person that you can trust the most or try to seek some sort of resource because I don't wish whatever is going on anyone, not even people that deserve it, like that are bad people, right? Like, because you don't want that spreading throughout. You don't.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure, like you can, like I'm sure you can pinpoint. I can pinpoint to our own personal struggles. I go like in the end, getting help is the best thing for yourself.
And don't make it alcohol, you degenerates.
Absolutely no.
I have to end with a joke. This got too sad. This is like You have to show the proper respect for the situation, but it's been a downer. It has been a really
It has been a downer.
Downer episode.
We normally try to be fun. We try to be. Sometimes Matt ends up adding a little too much fun, but
like calling you out for not being, entertaining enough. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to keep the ratings up. Anyway,
hey, I could be entertaining.
Can be, quote unquote.
Can be. Yeah.
I'm kidding. Anyway, Robyn, do the whole spiel. You know where to find us.
Yep. All right. So that's gonna be it for today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you've yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on now the SiriusXM radio app. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, and on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. And for those people that are making the jump over to Threads, you can find us at Locked On Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leonio. Matthew Jacobson is at the Easy Sports Guy. Interact with us. Ask a question you might have. We might interact right back or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys staying safe out there. Hope you guys staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.